Good afternoon. I'm Erin Cody, Director of Harper Edge here at Binghamton University, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's interactive salon focused on the future of learning. I have with me two of our illustrious faculty who are also administrators here at the university, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to us, and then we'll take it from there to hear a little bit more about the future of learning. James?
Great. Yeah, thanks, Erin. So thrilled to be here. I'm James Pitarresi. I've been here for over 34 years. I'm a professor of mechanical engineering, and for the last 9 years, I've served as vice provost, most recently for online and innovative education.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephen Ortiz. I'm a faculty member in the history department, and I've been at Binghamton now since 2010, so a little over 10 years. And I am now the assistant vice provost for academic enrichment, which is a phrase that I'll be delving into quite a bit here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, we welcome you all today as you listen to a little bit more about the future of learning here at Binghamton University, to share your questions and comments with us in the chat. So do type in your questions. We are keeping an eye out for those. But we'll open it up to you guys. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here at Binghamton.
Sure. Can we start, James?
Yeah,
I'll start.
go.
So one of the great things that we're doing at this university is moving beyond a model of education, of higher education, in which a 4-year curricular program is the baseline and kind of everything that happens. We are doing so much more to enrich our students' lives academically, co-curricular and other types of programs, and a whole new approach to learning for 21st century students and the 21st century marketplace of employers looking for our students to hire them in the future. And we're going to be talking about this in multiple ways. James, I believe, is going to start talking about teaching and the art and practice and science of teaching at this university.
Sure. No, happy to do that. And as Erin said, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We're happy to engage. We're hoping to engage with you. We'd love to hear your questions, your thoughts, your ideas. You know, one of the things we were talking about before we got set up today is, teaching as a craft. As we look into the future, we really need to be thinking about what evidence-based practices are out there. When I started teaching, I taught my first college class in 1980. I know. Quiet down, everybody. I taught the way my professors taught, right? And they taught the way their professors taught. And I didn't know any better. Well, now we do. There is tremendous science and study behind teaching, what works, what doesn't work. And it draws upon everything from psychology to just teaching practice, educator practice. But we now have evidence-based practices that we need to employ. And we were joking earlier, one of the practices that absolutely works for helping students to learn and retain the information is something as simple as flashcards, which we probably used to learn our multiplication tables or something, several years ago. But there are techniques that actually work. We do know there are techniques that don't work. Cramming for the exam doesn't work. The students, the learners don't learn the material and they don't retain the material. There's scientific evidence behind that now. So the real challenge, Steve, is how do we take these evidence-based practices and bring them into the art of teaching? Because there is an art to it. There is the ability to communicate, the ability to listen and show empathy, right? And to be able to engage with the students in the class. And if you have this arsenal of techniques, then it makes you a much more effective educator. So from 30,000 feet, that's what the future looks like.
And teaching is a two-way street, right? So, and also being really sensitive to what our students are bringing with them as they come into the classroom, whether it be in the current last few years, the trauma of a pandemic and the uncertainties of a pandemic, whether it be attention deficits from technology and social media and things like that. I mean, whatever the students have as they walk into the classroom is part of that conversation about teaching too.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier as well. We're in the attention economy now, right? So all these technological advances we have are really designed to grab our attention, right? And the impact of social media on our attention, this has exploded in recent years. And I don't know that we fully understand where that's, where that's headed. But Steve, you mentioned something I think is very important. And this idea of gaps, that, the students have these gaps. Well, I got to tell you, we have gaps. We have gaps as an institution. We have gaps as educators. And so let's just admit, we all have gaps. Let's figure out what we bring, what strengths we bring, where are the students? They have different strengths. How do we get past this deficit model that they have gaps and get down to the art and science, of teaching, which is, I really think, is going to be the key, at least for the next 10 years. I don't care if you're online, face-to-face, hybrid. If you don't understand that, and if you cannot meet the students where they are, they meet you where they are, where you are, and figure out how to best communicate, then we're going to be in trouble. And yeah, go ahead.
No, there's a second part to this too, which is that we are also actively seeking ways to have our students learn by doing. And so when I mentioned I'm assistant vice provost for academic enrichment includes all those things that are not part of a college curriculum or part of a department's curriculum for a major. And so these are programs like the like research programs, the first-year research immersion program for the biological sciences and natural sciences. This is the SOURCE project that is a research program, a one-year research stream for those studying humanities and social sciences. We want students doing research. We want them doing community engaged learning. We want them to do service learning. We want them to be meeting with mentors and doing internships because we know that this is a way to engage students more, but also a way to really sharpen their skills in ways that future employers will be really happy to experience when they come out into the marketplace. And by the way, students really love these high impact learning practices. Again, research, study abroad, internships, mentoring and shadowing, all these things really matter to students' extracurricular, co-curricular paths to the university.
Yeah, and capstone courses where you synthesize, everything from your curriculum and your experiences, right? So this is, what's the whole picture? What's the holistic approach, right? So all those experiences are part of our path, and they inform us as we move forward. How do we help a student synthesize all those experiences so they can articulate that when they're looking at an internship interview or a job interview, or just trying to figure out where do they want to have an impact on society?
And the university's strategic roadmap on strategic priority number 2 on learning and a learning environment really tries to track how many students in this university do those types of high impact learning practices. And our goal is to have every student do one. And when we were talking to folks like you, the question might come to your mind, well, what can we do? And really what we're hoping is that we can get to a point where every single Binghamton University student is enabled and empowered in a structured way to engage and learn in these kinds of ways. That right now we have students doing it and in very impactful and important ways. We want it to be every student.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve. So on SP2, right, of the 6 strategic priorities of the university, the teaching, learning, and the environment and so forth, we're looking into that data because we're pretty consistently, about 85% of our students get at least one of those experiences. Many students get more than one.
Quite a few, yeah.
Quite a few of those experiences. Now, some are easy. If you're an engineering student, you are going to get a capstone course. It's required as part of our accreditation, but not so much in other disciplines, right? So we're actually looking at the data. We have an active project right now to try to understand that 15%. What are the barriers for those students to get those experiences? And as Steve said, why is that important? Well, because we know that, again, it's evidence-based. We know these experiences will help a student synthesize their learning, apply their learning, understand better how the education, the great education at Binghamton University can help them as they move forward, graduate school, employment, whatever it is.
Right. And again, I think one of the key takeaways is that when doing these types of things, they are incredibly engaged with the process. And that we think about learning at Binghamton as an active process as opposed to a passive process. And if you can really pivot that kind of framework, that perspective for students, for alumni even, that this is a college degree now is not about coming to a university and sitting there and having knowledge wash over you. It is a place now where you are actively engaged in the knowledge production. If you're in a research stream of, say, FRI or source project, you are actively engaged with the communities around you in something like the Harper Fellows that Erin runs, where that program helps students go out and do a community service project in many parts of the world that really empowers them to do that type of work. And so the whole educational process now is really one where we're trying to accentuate the active nature of it as opposed to a more passive kind of framework.
Steve, I want to even unpack that further. That's absolutely true. We know that active student-centered learning is really where we need to be for most of our courses. Look, I get it. There are times when you just need to get information out to a large number of people. Well, lecture hall 1, right? We all remember our favorite large lecture hall. Right. Yeah, it makes sense. There are times when that's important. The vast majority of the time, though, the student, the learner, has to be an active participant in that process, right? So how do we, expanding on what Steve said, how do we do that? So we run workshops at the Center for Learning and Teaching where we can help instructors with best practices and techniques and so forth to be able to do that. The other part is this incredibly exciting part. And I know, Steve, you're going to have a lot to say about this, but the FRI, the first year research immersion, the source project.
Yes.
I mean, these are two incredible projects. What Steve said earlier is incredibly important. Not only are students actively engaged, they are engaged in knowledge creation. Right. Let me say that again. They're engaged in knowledge creation. I got to tell you, as an undergrad in the 70s, I'd look over at the engineering labs and see the graduate students working, but no undergrad was allowed in there. Go sit in the classroom, listen to the teacher. Yeah. I couldn't do any research till I was a graduate student.
It's funny you mentioned that. The director of the FRI program will often say, and she has a doctorate in chemistry, she will often say, the things that our students are doing in their first year in the FRI program are things that I could not do until I was a doctoral student.
Right.
And that's astonishing, right? That's an astonishing level of sophistication that you're bringing to bear to students and for students that students are actively engaged in. And just also that our students at this university are so bright. Right? We have really great students, and they can come in and do this kind of work.
So I'm going to say two things. I'm going to give it back to Steve. One is this 3-semester FRI program. So it's first year research immersion. It actually spills into the second year, yes. But that's okay. It's marketing. It exists at 3 universities in this country.
A total of 3.
University of Texas at Austin. That's a pretty good school. Mm-hmm. University of Maryland. Well, okay. Binghamton University. Howard Hughes Medical Institute has provided initial seed funding along with other sources to get it started.
Right.
And I mean, think of the company we're in. Think of how the Howard Hughes Medical Institute views Binghamton University. Hey, you guys are among the best, if not the best. We are the best.
Yeah. It's also fun to see a different process emerge from the FRI program, which is that our academic departments are paying attention. All right, so the FRI program came in with this research model, a curricular-based research model to do research with first-year students in a 3-semester sequence. And all of a sudden, other departments are saying, hey, why not us? Why can't we do that? Why do we have all of our first-year classes in the lecture hall? And the same with the source project in terms of social sciences and humanities. Why couldn't our department implement more research-based pedagogies in our first-year program as opposed to just lecturing in a big lecture hall with a midterm and a final? And so these programs have not just impacted the ways that Binghamton University students learn, it's also beginning to have a really strong ripple effect that is going through the departments and rethinking their delivery of content to include these types of really impactful teaching techniques.
Yeah, and Steve, I mean, this occurred to me as you were talking. It's a point I wanted to bring up. Information is available almost freely anywhere. So a college degree that is basically regurgitating information that I can look up on my phone, and oh, by the way, I just have to tell. See, I don't want to say the name of you-know-who on the iPhone because my phone will probably try to answer. But you know what I'm saying? I can just say something and it looks it up for me.
Right.
So if all we're doing is, information, there's very little value in that in today's economy. That's available for free. It's synthesis. It's understanding. It's digging into things and understanding how they're connected. So we launched out with FRI. That's STEM. Very successful. And then it was, well, how do we extend this beyond STEM?
Yes.
And that's what's really exciting.
And that's been really exciting. So the Source Project, which has started small, the couple streams, now has 6 streams. And in those 2-semester sequences, students will do an independent research project with a professor that's with them for 2 consecutive semesters. And we are finding a great deal of demand for that program and great results from it. And that students value the challenge of doing research in their first year. They value the connections they're making to a faculty member who's with them over the course of 2 semesters in that very intimate setting of a 25-person classroom. They value that they are taking steps that other people have not taken yet and asking questions and pushing for results. And even when they fail, they value the process in ways that if you get a chance to speak with any of these students, you're just blown away by how that experience has been so formative to their Binghamton experience. Yeah, and we're hoping to expand the Source Project to more streams. These programs reach a good number of students, probably between them 450 students this last academic year. Our goal is to do that for more and more of our first-year students and really jumpstart that process the best way we can.
And I think students intuitively, they get it right away, that this, in the Source and in FRI, this isn't information you can look up online.
Right.
Like they are, I know I said it, they're creating new information, new knowledge. They are tackling problems that you can't look up in the back of the book, that our friendly, digital assistant can't find on the internet. These are... And
they're not esoteric problems. These are real life, kind of ripped from the headline problems. So in the Source Project, you have things from human rights. You have things on a stream on pandemics. You have a stream on environmental places and environmental impact. In the FRI program, you have clean energy, you have biofilms, you have neuroscience, you have areas of expertise that are tackling real world problems in real time. One of the FRI sessions I attended last summer had information on COVID variants. Like in the middle of a pandemic, a freshman is giving a presentation, original research on COVID variants that they're tracking. And I'm thinking, I can't even, it's hard to even fathom that a first-year student can do something like that with the guidance of the FRI program and their stream faculty, of course. But they're the ones, looking for those answers and then finding those answers.
Yeah. I think Fauci called up and said.
That's what I asked. I said, "Have you talked to Fauci?"
I got to check in on that. So I think it's critical. Like students understand the value of that, and they know that that's going to be a very important sort of learning environment.
Can we switch to something you're doing now, James, which is Innovation Scholars? Because we talked a little bit about community engaged learning and research and things of that nature. And Innovation Scholars is a program that puts a lot of these things together that you're working on now.
Yeah, thanks. So the Innovation Scholars is something that Upinder Dhillon, who the former Dean of the School of Management, so many of you will hopefully know him, he and I talked often that we have these really smart students, bright, hardworking, very good. If I give them a basic homework problem in mechanical engineering, they can do it, right? That kind of book problem. But if I challenge them with an ill-defined or open-ended problem, I noticed they really struggled. Now, part of that is the gap, right? How were we teaching the students? We were teaching them to do problems from the book. Oh, what if we taught students to do problems that aren't in the book? And so Upinder and I noticed this, he noticed it in the School of Management. So we had this idea that we'd love to help students develop their creative confidence, develop a tool set for innovative thinking, right? And then to be able to apply it, whether they go out and work for a major manufacturer and they just bring that innovative mindset, or they try to start up a small company, or join a government organization or NGO or whatever, that they'll have this approach. And so what is the approach? It's really based on 3 ingredients. The first one you're going to laugh at. It sounds kind of silly. But the first one is talking to people, right? Talking to people to get what I call small data, to get information. If you think you have a great idea and you're trying to solve some interesting problem, oh, here's what we should do. Well, you need to talk to people. You need to talk to the people that it impacts. You need to talk to the stakeholders. So how do you talk to people to get good information? And then the second is, it's a theory. It's called jobs to be done. It's not important. What is important is that what is the progress? What is that person trying to achieve in that circumstance? That gets at causation, right? And that's important, because if you understand what they're trying to do, you're better equipped to help. Well, how do you help? You have to co-create. Steve and I are administrators. If we decide, 2 of us get together, and we come up with a new policy, I'll make something up, a new policy on class registration. And 2 of us get together and, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? Oh yeah, so there's the new policy, there you go. Well, I gotta tell you, we're gonna get a lot of pushback, and probably rightfully so, because we didn't co-create. We didn't engage with academic advisors, with department chairs and others who are knowledge of the process, with students who are the actual people doing the process. So those are the 3 pieces, right? So the ability to talk to people to get good information, to understand what their challenges are, and then to co-create with stakeholders. And
that first one makes me smile, because any of you who have children who are in high school or middle school, or even here at the university, go to a dining hall and look at all the kids who are sitting next to each other on their phones, right? And they can't do that kind of talk. They'd rather give the person next to them a Google form to do, right, to get information than actually talk to them, right? And so when you say we have to teach people to talk in that way, it is a new kind of feature of global society, American society, global society.
Well, Steve, I've noticed, if you're in one of the bigger lecture halls, lecture hall 2, let's say, as soon as the class is over, all the students get up and immediately start looking at their phones, and they're all walking out. No, I mean, they're talking to each other too, but they're all looking at their phones. We talked about we're in the attention economy now. But yeah, that ability. And so that's something we try to do in the Innovation Scholars. And then we encourage them to get in teams, to try to tackle problems, whether it's on campus or something in our community or something at a larger scale. Yeah. And we were very fortunate to have a visitor from I'm trying to think, it was Tim Ryan came. He's the CEO of PricewaterhouseCoopers. And he came and visited with the Innovation Scholars. And one of the students asked, these global problems, we're second-year engineering students in Binghamton. How do we impact, global hunger or water quality or something like that? And he said the following. He says, first, get educated, then get passionate. And I love that, right? So he talked about just find out as much as you can about the problem. Oh, that's called research, right? That ties right in. And then get passionate about it. What can you do about it? Talk to other people. So that, I thought, is something really important. Yeah. The title of this is The Future of Education. Right. So these are the building blocks that we're trying to infuse throughout the campus. And that's through workshops and all kinds of stuff.
And thanks to our faculty in these research streams and faculty throughout the university, they are the type of people who can ignite passions that students didn't realize they had in the first place. So, for example, I've been in contact recently with one of my former students who's interested in international relations and human rights issues. When she came to this university as a freshman, she was pre-law, going to law school, that's what I'm going to do, and just so happened to jump into the human rights source project stream, and it transformed her life. She's now just accepted a scholarship to go to George Washington University's International Relations program, which is one of the great international relations programs. And what made her choose that program? They had more hands-on experiential type of learning compared to the other top-notch programs that she was accepted to, and they just said, well, go do a thesis. She wanted the place that mirrored this kind of experience for her education.
This is the future.
Right.
We planted the seeds for what the future education looks like. We need to tend that crop. We need to expand that out, right? What's exciting here is, many of you probably know if you were graduate students here, our graduate students are hungry, they're eager. I'd say at our workshops at the Center for Learning and Teaching, we get a lot of graduate students, so many that we now have separate workshops just for graduate students so that we can address their specific needs.
Yes.
But this idea of hands-on, Steve, it reminded me of something I wanted to come back to. One of the things that the FRIs did is they introduced the concept of cures, C-U-R-E. And a cure is a course-based undergraduate research experience. And that's the core of the FRI program. So,
and the source project.
And the source, right? And then what's brilliant is then the source project said, how do we do that outside of STEM?
Right.
And they figured it out, which is so cool. And by the way, how many other schools have that?
None that I know of.
Yeah, we don't know of anybody else who's doing the source.
We know about the FRI equivalents, the other two, all two of them, but we don't know of other experiences like this.
And we got to push and grow this and really establish our reputation here. But back to STEM, what reminded me is the hands-on. The FRI courses are really hands-on, and so it's this course-based undergraduate research experience. So the labs for those students were based on doing some research. Like, look, we'll teach you how to use, a pipette or use the different instruments, but we're going to teach that to you when you need it because you need to be able to do something. And when you're interested in doing that thing, then, right, when learning is relevant to what you want to do, it sticks like Velcro.
Right.
When it's just being taught because, in the book it does it in this order, okay, I'll do it. But all of a sudden, wait a minute, I need to learn how to use a pipette. I need to learn how to titrate. Why? Because I'm doing this experiment with COVID.
And not just that, I'm doing it as part of a team, and my team relies on me. So they have a team of 4 or 5 students working on the same project in FRI often. And that sense that I need to be a strong team member here and really not let my team down also plays a role in this. I really want to learn and be an asset to my team. Right?
Yep. Know when to lead, know when to follow, and as Lee Iacocca once said, know when to get out of the way. But back to that cure. So with the FRI, there were probably a handful of classes using that model. Well, some of those faculty in those departments were like, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah. So wait a minute, I could take my upper level lab and switch it over to a cure, and now I'm teaching my lab, but I have 30 students in here that are doing research that can contribute to my research program, to their growth. So we had about 300. We just did our Middle States accreditation review a year ago, I think. Wasn't it?
Yes.
We did great, of course. Right. But I was able to report in there, and I don't have the numbers top of my head, but when we started this, might have been 300 students getting impacted by these cures. At last count, there were probably 30 classes and over 4,000 students who are getting this experience, right? And that's not even counting the source.
Right.
Right? So this is the future.